And we are live. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's the Oz Mompreneur Online Festival. My name is Peace Mitchell, and I'm co founder of Oz Mompreneur, the Women's Business School, and Women Changing the World Press. I'm also co author of The Women Changing the World, our brand new anthology, which has just launched this week. It's a beautiful book with the stories of 33 incredible women from around Australia and one international as well, who are changing the world in big and small ways. And today I'm chatting with a couple of the authors of the book and hearing more about their chapter and what inspires them and their story. But before we begin, I would love to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I am live streaming from today, the Mamu people of North Queensland. And I pay my respects to traditional owners and elders, past, present, and emerging leaders, and across all of Australia and the Torres Strait. All right, well, let's get started. We've got a few of our authors here. So Kristy Fairburne is here. Hi, Kristy. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm so excited.
It's wonderful. It is. It's so exciting. And you're joining us from Tasmania today. Is that right?
I am, yes, where we're getting a taste of summer. It's warm. It's lovely.
That's so wonderful. Now, Kristy, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Sure. So I'm Christy Fairbairn, and I am the CEO and founder of the business Oasis. And our primary service there is to provide bookkeeping and business support solutions to small business owners. But in recent times, in the last probably 18 months to 2 years, I've been working with some amazing business coaches and mentors and really going on a personal professional growth journey. And that ignited a huge passion in me to actually start working with small business owners from a coaching point of view. So I've been exploring that in the last little while, and I'm really passionate about our bookkeeping services being sustainable with a team of fantastic women. So a team of 7 who support our clients there, but allowing me the freedom to deliver more value and impact and legacy to small business owners directly. So yeah, I love the idea of it.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Kristy. We've also got Leah Chandler here. Hello, Leah. How are you?
Good, Peace. How are you?
Yeah, really good. So, Leah, for people who haven't met you before, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Leah from Kids Fit Australia. We run programs to support inclusion within a community, and we do that by the way of working with all kids of all ages. And they're supporting people, so they're educators, their parents and carers, etc. And we provide programs to support all 3 of those groups. And we do that by working with yoga and mindfulness, fitness and wellness, and everything in between that actually needs to be there to actually promote that inclusion in the community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Leah. And we also have Laura here. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. So excited to be here. I'm so good. We had a little glitch there at the start with good old Hills internet here in Perth. Yeah.
So, Laura, for people who haven't met you before, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Laura Elizabeth, best known as a women's embodiment coach. So really what I like to tell people is that I love you while you remember how to love yourself. So using different processes, tools and body work to really bring you back into your body, self-love, body image, sexuality, and most recently helping women to heal through story with the launch of Maven Press, which is very, very exciting. I've had another book which actually launched today as well. So I'm like refreshing Amazon constantly, like we're so close. So it's a very, very exciting week for me. And I'm so honored to be here with you guys again. Of course, we had Back Yourself last year. So here for it.
I love that, Laura. I love that you're launching 2 books on the same day. Here's The Women Changing the World, and you've got another book as well. What's your other book called?
This book is called Heart-Centered Leadership. So this is another anthology-style book where women are sharing their experiences of what it means to be a woman in business, leading from the heart, wanting to change the world through inspiration, through bodywork, through healing, all of the things. So it's very exciting. And I did have it here, but my mum stole it yesterday. Otherwise, I would be splashing it all over the screen.
That's too funny. Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Well, we might go back to you now, Kristy, and dive deeper into your chapter. So tell us about your chapter and what your story is.
Yeah, so I love the title of the book. And for me, it gave me the opportunity to reflect on the women in my life who've changed my world. And that's what I really focus on. And, you know, I'm very clear on not being defined by where I came from and not being held back or limited by that as well. I think, you know, I've allowed plenty of stories throughout my life to validate response and validate playing small, because I had this history, I had these challenging beginnings, and really leaning into playing big now and not being restricted by that. And yeah, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have been loved by two mothers. The mother who created me, who sadly couldn't stay. She had some troubles and struggles, but I was then taken in by her sister-in-law and raised in her family and adored and loved by that mother, who had a huge impact on me. And I've also had some amazing friendships with some really strong, powerful women along the way who've helped shape and guide me to know that I can achieve more and that I am loved and adored. And yeah, so it's really special to share that and hopefully resonate with even just one girl who comes from untraditional beginnings, who could feel limited by it and know that she can be more.
It sounds like it's a really beautiful story, Kristy, of honouring the women, important women in your life.
Yeah, it's been really important to me to highlight them. I think particularly as, unfortunately, 3 key women in my life have died. So, you know, feeling that sense of loss, but also feeling that continued sense of presence as well, that, you know, no matter what we go through, they are still always with us, whether it's in our actions, our thoughts, our behaviour, our choices. So, yeah, it's a really beautiful way to have connected to that.
Yeah, beautiful. And what's the key message that you wanted to convey through your chapter?
We are all enough. And knowing that and believing that is something that I've been on a journey. Not to be too cliche, but it's been a massive, massive journey for me to realise I am enough. In fact, I am more than enough. And to help others realise that is really special.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I might go to you now, Leah. Tell us about your chapter.
My chapter is about, I guess, our journey into doing what we do, and why we see inclusion in the community so important, and why we also see that educators, parents and carers and kids all work together in that community, and they really need to be heard. All 3 of those groups need to be heard, and they need to be listened to. And then I guess you debate and find out the best way to actually work with youth and all be okay and being able to have good mental health, and while actually bringing up your kids in that community. That support's really important. So I guess that the biggest part of this chapter is actually that journey of our own life, with our own family, working through kids with additional needs, and varying different needs as well. So mainstream type needs, with ADHD, Asperger's, sensory and other things, and very severe anxiety. And then on the other side, on the additional needs, working through auditory processing delays, autism, dyspraxia or a whole range of other things. We're going slower and one going faster. And obviously an intellectual disability on the other side of the additional needs. So, but also having another sibling that's actually supporting those two younger siblings and knowing what that can look like for them, because, you do actually give a lot of support to the younger kids or those kids that have those additional needs, and it's really important not to forget them, and also to make sure that everybody can work together as a family. So it was our journey, but maybe through my lens, and seeing how I was shocked at going into burnout. And just finding my message was to find the silver lining in whatever adversity you have.
And it wasn't an easy thing for you to write this chapter.
No, it's very hard. But I actually did do the chapter, actually wrote the chapter to actually start that process off of actually talking about things, because I do get asked to speak a lot about what we do. We're very passionate about what we do. And I really want to see people well, and I want to see everybody included. I think everybody has a voice, and sometimes that's just not heard, and it's very important that it is. So I guess my voice is learning to talk about that, about where we are.
What's your key message that you would want people to take away from your chapter?
There's probably a couple of different things, but one was definitely to find the silver lining, taking the time to process what's actually happening in your life, and taking a chance to actually see where you need to look after yourself. Wellness for parents is very important, and we tend to be the last people to think about ourselves. But when I got a shock with burnout, realised how far past that burnout point I was actually at. I guess my silver lining in that was that I can see it in others quite quickly where they're leading to, and that's including in educators. So I started to see both lenses of an educator and a parent or carer, and seeing how we can actually try to put ourselves in their shoes and vice versa. Around also what kids are feeling when they're actually in that situation of having to work with both of those groups, because kids are very astute. No matter what their disability is, they do pick up on a lot of things, whether they've got communication issues or not. They pick up on all the vibes, and we have to be okay at ourselves to actually be able to work and guide them. But definitely the silver lining, finding the silver lining on why things happen. Because, guilt for parents is pretty big, and finding a way to actually get through that guilt and actually see that you're doing a good job.
Yeah, beautiful message. Thank you, Leah. Laura, I'd love to come to you now and ask you to tell us about your chapter.
Absolutely. So I think my opening line in this chapter is that, if you are picking up this book called, The Women Changing the World, then you already identify with that archetype within you that is here to disrupt and create ripples in the universe. And then it just goes on to talk about my experience and a bit of how to and where to start in terms of, doing something, having the courage to just put yourself out there and do the thing, just one step at a time. Know your why, like be super, super clear on your intention, your vision, and your mission statement, and make sure that, that runs through the core of everything that you're doing, because that's the thing. Your why is the thing that's going to get you out of bed. Your why is the thing that's going to keep you inspired, to keep that fire burning, and change is going to happen as a result. Look for opportunities, look for places to share that vision, to share that mission, to share that intention, and create those opportunities for creating change. Do the inner work. When you are consciously creating change and consciously lighting fires around you, your own fears and your own limiting beliefs are going to constantly come up to be met. So it's really important to stay grounded and keep unpacking all of those limiting beliefs and create that belief, create that trust and that relationship with yourself that says, keep going. Like, look at what we're creating, look at what we can do. Surround yourself by like-minded people, the doers, not the gunners, but the doers. And I feel like, the deeper I step into my truth and what it is that I'm here to do, the more and more I'm calling in these people who are so aligned and so clear in their intention and their vision, and they are the trailblazers and the change makers, and daring to be different. The only thing that is constant is change, right? So daring to be that person to stand up and go, hey, well, I know we've been doing this and this, but what if we did it this way? And to see, how quickly that creates all kinds of opportunities and change within the world, and not to waste too much time explaining and overthinking, like really just getting out there and believe, when you're aligned, when your fire is burning, when you're passionate, everything is possible. So all of that into, 2,800 words.
I love it. And, I love when you talk about being prepared to take risks. I think as an entrepreneur, as a woman who's wanting to change the world or, make that impact, you have to be prepared to put yourself forward and know that it could go either way. It could be a big success and have a huge impact and be really positive and everybody cheering and it go really well. But there's also the flip side of that. It could just completely fall over and fail and just be humiliating. 100%. Talk to me about that.
100%. I think I often get asked, how are you doing all of these things and how are you not afraid? And I think, the truth of the matter is that I'm scared every single day, and that's the edge that we have to meet ourselves. If we're not, pooping ourselves a little bit, are we even in growth zone? Are we stretching that edge? So yeah, the truth is that, when I woke up this morning and that other book's on Amazon and I'm like, I don't want to let my women down. I want this to go to #1. And it's like that real fear of all of this work, 5 months of, pulling those threads together. And it's like crunch time. Yes, I'm terrified, but I'm also so, so, so excited. And there's so much learning no matter what happens. But certainly it takes a special kind of courage to throw yourself out there again and again and again, knowing that, you're either going to be celebrating or just completely thrown to the wolves, but also understanding that there's learning in that. And now you'll know what not to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But when you're like putting yourself out there for these big things and, going for it and, like you said, it's crunch time and you've been working all the time, do you then balance that? How do you balance that when you've been working so hard?
That's the time where, it's like the organic juices start coming in and bedtime becomes like early and it's getting my feet in the dirt, extra long walks with the dog and really trying to reset the nervous system. And allow myself to come back into that why and that intention. Like it's very easy for me to go, why am I like this? Like why have I said yes to 72 things all at once? And then it's like, that's right. Remember your why, remember that vision, remember how many lives we're changing. That's the why. Okay, breathe, ground, center. So certainly, and that takes a conscious effort too. And that's something that I definitely could do more of. We could all do with a little more calm and a little more self-love. And I think it's super important, especially diving into huge projects and being so responsible for other people and projects and things. So important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Anna, we'll come to you now. Hello.
Hi, gorgeous ladies. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Anna, for people who haven't met you before, I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, Anna from Wellness at Wilston. I'm the founder of Wellness at Wilston, which is a biohack your life wellness clinic in north side of Brisbane. So we've been in business for just about 2.5 years, and I think there's been a pattern of quite serious gut health issues. So every client that comes to our clinic without fail, every single new client has ticked bloating on their consultation form. So obviously they're finding us through our colonics, because obviously there's a lot more, it's becoming a lot more present for people to have a colonic and to actually be educated on colonics and why they're so life-changing. So that sort of got me into thinking about what my mission is here to do. I mean, obviously I wrote that chapter in the book because I'm trying to bring awareness to the Healing Humanity Foundation that I've created, because I'm trying to create holistic hospitals, sort of an integrated healthcare system, I guess you could say. But if you wanted to vision it, it's a holistic hospital where we're using different treatment modalities and natural medicines rather than pharmaceutical drugs, for instance. Don't get me wrong, there are some instances where you'll need that, and I'm not saying that there's not, but on the everyday person, I guess, that doesn't have a terminal illness or stage 4 or whatever it may be, there might be some other options that we can do before we get to those sort of pharmaceutical drugs or whatever it may be. So I guess I was so unwell for 8.5 years myself. I was bedridden for many of those years. I had chronic migraines, had dengue fever, which caused a lot of issues for me. So I guess what I've learned is a lot about gut health and microbiome and the gut-brain connection. And so I feel like at the clinic, we can only help 18 people a day because we've got 2 colonic beds. They're constantly full. And I was like, I need to do more. I need to help more people, because if there's this many people coming into my clinic on the daily with gut health issues, there's going to be millions more out there. So we've been perfecting this treatment in clinic, this protocol, I guess, because every questionnaire that I do with my clients, it's always stemming back to some sort of microbiome imbalance. They've either had a barley belly, they've had a food poisoning, they've had a viral infection, or they've had a bacterial infection, they've had a course of antibiotics, and then it was a couple of months or a couple of years that their gut started, playing up. And so I was piecing all of this together, and I come up with what's called the Internal Shred Challenge. So I want to help people out of the clinic. So we've got the Internal Shred Challenge, like a soft launch today with you guys. But it's basically helping people clean out right from their mouth, right down through their whole digestive tract, cleaning out any parasites, SIBO, which is a small intestinal bacterial growth, which generally causes bloating, and candida, heavy metals, cleaning out the liver, because that's basically where a lot of those parasites and bacteria live, and they live in what's called a biofilm, and most people wouldn't know that. So people will do a parasite cleanse, or they'll have a lot of antibiotics, but they don't actually break up the biofilm. So then that bacteria will just present somewhere else in the body. So people will start getting headaches, or they'll start getting anxiety, or they'll start getting joint pain, they'll start getting bloated, they'll start getting pains in the belly, different pains through the body, and they're like, what's going on with me? So piecing it all together, basically it's stemming from the small intestine. So there's a microbiome imbalance generally. So if your gut's off, it's generally from that colony of bacteria in there. So what we do is we clean the whole organ out, and then we repopulate with a probiotic, encapsulated probiotic, and then we actually feed that bacteria in the small intestine so that it can take over the colony. Now, we are getting absolute amazing results in clinic. Like I'm talking, we've had a lady that was basically told she had to get rid of her bowel because she could not go to the toilet. So she was coming to the clinic twice a week. We had her on all of our supplements. She's now on holidays with her family, jet skiing, living her best life. And we get so many of these stories in clinic, and we're changing people's lives literally every single day. So the fact that we were doing it in clinic and supporting our clients through this process, and I mean, I'm not going to lie, some days is hard. And when we're moving bacteria through there, it can be uncomfortable. You can get more bloated. You can feel a bit off. You can feel a bit of that Herx reaction. Most of you probably know it as that diarrhea, nausea, cramping feeling. It's called a Herxheimer reaction. So you can get a bit of that, but so worth it after 21 days. Everyone is saying that they have more energy, they're sleeping better, they've lost a couple of kilos, whatever it may be, whatever it is for them. But we've got just the amazing results. I'm like, I've got to share this with the world. So I've done the 45-minute presentation, so it's on there. I was talking so quick because I'm so passionate, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so bear with me. It's just that I'm so passionate, and I feel like 100% of my being that I'm a vessel for something greater than myself, and that I'm here to create a new healthcare system, and that, you know, I just want to help so many people to feel well, because when you've been in a space of being so unwell and you find something that works, it's just your mission to share it with the world, right? So that's why I went through all those dark moments, I think. So yeah, sorry, I just went off and...
No, that's awesome. Awesome. And your big vision, your future vision is the Healing for Humanity centres.
Correct.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, what that vision?
Yeah, so they're the hospitals, basically. So my brothers have, and it's funny, my brothers are like, they build hospitals, and, you know, it's funny how all of these synchronicities work. So so it's basically a hospital. I'm trying to bring in some new modalities, some new treatments that have not even been brought out into the world yet. I'm also trying to bring, so we only do 4 treatments in clinic, but there's a lot more treatments that I want to bring in, but obviously I don't have the space at Wellness at Wilston. So it needs to be a bigger space. So I'm trying to create a new integrative healthcare system that is like a holistic hospital, for instance, where someone can come with a diagnosis, or even if they don't have a diagnosis yet, they can come, get a diagnosis and get a treatment plan. And my real big statement here is it's your body, your choice, right? So when I was going through my healing with my children's life-threatening illnesses, with my sister going through that cancer battle for so many years, we never actually had a choice. The doctor would just say, here, take this antidepressant, here, take these pain meds. My sister was vomiting from the chemotherapy, and he gave her, in the end, 5 anti-nausea medications. It was never about her choice. Like, it was just, you do this. And I said, well, what about, can we try this? He was like, no, you can't do that. But in the end, we put her on CBD, THC, and ginger calm tablets from like a natural ginger calm tablet, and she was completely a different person. So if they would have just looked and given her another choice, that process of that, you know, that 9 weeks or whatever that she was like in bed rocking saying, I want to die, like, it could have been a lot better process, but they don't even look at it, you know, and that's what was really frustrating for me. And that's where this all stemmed from, was that meeting with that oncologist. And I'm saying, well, she's so sick, like, is there anything else that we can do? He goes, there's a chocolate vending machine on your way out. Grab her a chocolate, that'll make her happy. And I said, that doesn't make any sense to me, because it's scientifically proven that sugar feeds cancer cells. So he goes, well, she's already got cancer, so what are you worried about? And I was just like, the system's so broken. Like, what the hell is going on here? So I think it was that meeting with that guy that really stemmed all of this for me and made it my passion and my mission to bring another system to humanity. And a way that you've got a choice on how you heal your body. So, yeah, the choice might be, I want to do chemo and radiation, but maybe I can try X, Y, Z first, or maybe I can support my body with a detox system while I'm doing that treatment. Like, I feel like as adults, we need to have a choice.
Yeah, incredible. And that, you know, there's been proven cases of both styles of medicine working, and if we could have more integration of that, I think it would be better for everyone. So
look,
yeah,
I mean, we deal with so many really sick people, but we work with their doctors. So we work with them. So we won't give them antioxidants at this certain time that they're having this treatment, but then he's saying, yep, do a colonic, do this, do that. You know what I mean? So it's all about integration, I think, to begin with. And if someone wants to be completely holistic, well, then that's their choice as well. But I mean, there's no other services right now. It's basically, you know, hospital, chemo, radiation, whatever it may be, right? So I think there are a lot of little wellness clinics like me, or little healthcare systems around, but there's not one big place where someone can come and have a healing crisis, for instance, and go through a really big detox and have the doctors and the nurses there to support them through that process, right? So that's what I want to bring.
Yeah, it's an incredible vision, Anna. It really is. Thank you. I might come back to you, Kristy, now. Your story seems to me to be about women and mothers and motherhood. I'm just wondering, in yourself as a mother, were there changes that you experienced when you became a mother?
Yeah, absolutely. I I've got a beautiful 12-year-old daughter who's just about to finish primary school, graduation dinner tonight, and a son who is 9. And they are such magical people. And what I love is all of the learnings and exposure I've had to some fantastic alternative thinking, different modalities. I'm able to gift to them and help them create change in this world. And yeah, it's really powerful to be able to have that impact. And I'm grateful for my upbringing. I'm grateful for my mothers for the different things that they delivered to me. But I'm also really glad to have the opportunity to have some new tools, some new ways of impacting my children and helping them through this world. Yeah.
So as a mother yourself, what are some of those new rituals and traditions that you've brought forward for your kids?
Yeah, so I actually had a really beautiful open conversation with my the other night. She does find just before bedtime the best time to be vulnerable, which does irritate me a little bit. I do wish she could be vulnerable at 4 p.m, not 8 at night. But, creating that safe space for her to really talk about her feelings and not, it's so difficult, but I'm aware of not jumping into fix. I think that's a big thing of just holding space to have the feelings move through. Knowing, as mothers, nurturers, sometimes we just want to solve and, just allowing her to work through it. And it helps empower her to have the tools and strategies herself as well. And, she has an autoimmune disorder. She has celiac disease, which we hadn't known about until recent years. So she's had a lot of healing to do from that and requires some medical procedures and things. And she has a terrible fear of needles. And, I got her some EFT, some tapping therapy sessions. Instead of taking her to, mainstream thing, it was, what can I do to help her? And it's just been amazing. And she was having an emotional response to having an iron infusion needle put in. And I was like, just remember you're tapping, remember the work you've done. And she said, Mum, I'm just feeling the feels. It's okay. I'll be right in a minute. It's like, oh, okay. Imagine when I was 12, I was trying to climb out the toilet window at the doctor's surgery to avoid needles. So yay. I think it's just being open and receptive to all that we have available to us is a really beautiful gift that I have as a mother.
I love that when you talk about, not jumping in to rescue her and just holding space and letting her process through those emotions. And I love how she's able to express herself. I'm just feeling the feels, Mum. It's all good.
Yeah, look, I remember growing up, dealing with a lot of questions and a lot of grief around. I was privileged enough to know where I came from and know that my first mother had mental health issues and unfortunately died from them. But it left me with a lot of guilt, a lot of, just a lot of feelings that I couldn't move through myself. And I remember asking for help. And, back then it wasn't really societally acceptable to have help, particularly growing up in a small community. And there was fear around reflection on the family. And so it wasn't really made available to me. But that was from a mother who had suffered serious loss with her second child. Her second child died from cancer. And her prescription from the medical community was vitamin B and exercise. So I'm probably not surprised now that I look back on it, that for me to seek help from a counselling service wasn't really acceptable because that's what my mum had gone through herself. So, that's why, again, I really appreciate the opportunities to provide alternative therapies, alternative solutions, but mainstream when there's a need for it as well for my children, and just being more open to all of those tools we have in our toolbox. And I love what you're doing, Anna. It just, it just lights me up to know that there's someone like you creating change in the world. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And Christy, things have changed now. I mean, there is more awareness about mental health and the need for mindfulness and all of those things. But do you think it's still kind of a taboo subject?
It's still definitely a bit too woo-woo for a lot of people, I think. But I don't care, is how I see it now. And that's what I love. And my daughter doesn't care. You know, for a long time, she's had the practice of mindfulness and meditation in her life. And when she was really little in primary school and having trouble, we worked with an energetic healer, and he'd told her if ever she needed anything to just sit with a tree and it would earth her, it would ground her and give her all the energy that she needed. And so she'd say to me sometimes that that's what she'd done in her lunch break. I was like, who did you play with? What did you do? Mum, I needed tree time. You know, it's great. So yeah, the more we don't care, the more acceptable I think it becomes, and it just is what it is. And you know, helping people realize that is great, but just giving it to ourselves is enough.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I might bring you in here, Leah, because I know this is something you also talk about, is looking after our mental health and kids' mental health as well.
Yes, it's definitely still a subject, particularly in young males. There's still a subject around looking after themselves and being able to express where they are emotionally and those kind of things. And that also stems to their fathers, what they've actually been brought up with in the Western world as well, and perhaps other cultures. You can only be tough for so long before other things in your life start to pick up, where you actually really feel issues and things like that. And that goes with anybody. So we talk about how we can bring it across to all different ages, but obviously male, female sometimes can be a little different on how we look at that. One of the things we do is in parents and carer sessions, we love it when we have dad and mum come as well. We find that dads have a different perspective, mums have a different perspective, and it's just working out how they support each other and how they're still obviously working it out if they've got other issues going on in the house with their own family. So we find we talk a lot about looking after each other and the fact that the lenses for males and females are obviously quite different, and that is actually okay. So sometimes I know I've done it for sure. I've gone, geez, my husband's just not thinking about this the right way, or he's not doing this or whatever. But actually his lens has quite a good merit. When you hear where he's actually at with something, it's just getting him to talk about it and actually sitting and being patient and letting, like holding space, I guess. So letting him have that conversation. But then at the same token, having the understanding of that we are usually a bit more long-winded and making sure that we have that conversation and him actually like listening to that. So I guess you also marry up your speak to. So once you start to get in sync, you learn how to shorten the way you say something, but still get your point across and still bring out your emotional, whatever it is that you need to have. And the same for them, they look at how to, because I ask a lot of questions. I'm that kind of person, and I ask him to elaborate. And that usually is quite an interesting conversation because he's quite reserved. So we've had to work on the give and take of that, instead of having, nothing happen, then someone having a big explosion, or me going straight out, you're not listening, or whatever it might be. So it comes from that, having that conversation with your partner, and then seeing that as a parent, how that role's actually put in place for another person in their family. So it could be, sometimes it could be a nephew as well, not just a son, and just how they role model that. It's really important to be on par with that and recognize it. So we talk a lot about that. Definitely. There's definitely more. From where we see things, there's definitely more. Schools are actually starting to come on board with more of the mindfulness side of things. Whether they always understand what that really means for them or not is another thing. So we're still working on that education of where this can work for their whole life. for kids for their whole life, but also for educators, also for parents and carers, depending on where we fit in that realm for that school. And the same for early learning centres, like early intervention, like getting kids to learn how to self-regulate. And the expectation for little kids to have this, like they should know how to deal with this stuff, like we don't even know how to deal with most things. So, you know, asking a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old to be able to express their emotional stuff or whatever it might be when they're already just learning their communication, learning how to actually speak and things like that is a big ask. And I think sometimes that just comes back from culture, and understanding that that's, you know, it's not okay to think that way. And we have to actually let them sort of express where they're at, and then we can guide them on maybe showing them some self-regulation. And that's just a continuing journey all the way through their life. And when we're still doing it, so why wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And do you think it's a cultural thing that, I mean, you're talking about the fact that for young boys and for men, it's harder to talk about their feelings and mental health and anxiety and those things. Do you think that's a result of our society?
I think also a generational thing too, wouldn't you say, Leah?
Yeah, definitely. Culture and generation, I think, for sure. And there are some groups, there's some top groups coming out now that are picking up on men's wellness, and that extends down to teens. And I guess where we fit right at the realm of all of those age groups, the younger age groups, but all the way up to 18. But we really look at that early intervention, because once they start that emotional regulation type stuff and they actually are responsible for their health, because believe it or not, whether you have additional needs or whether you're younger, you can learn aspects with help, and you can actually have the understanding that these things actually make sense to me. They matter. I need to work on physical health, mental health, and however that looks for the person and however that looks for their communication. So the more that we do that at an earlier age, the better it will be for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Laura, I'd love to bring you in on the conversation as well, because you work with women predominantly on going through, you know, and improving well-being and mental health, but from a different perspective.
Yeah, more so than not, I do work with women, but I also have a daughter and 2 sons, and you know, a lot of people will talk about, you know, what a hard job it would be raising a woman, raising a young girl in the world. And my response is always, well, yeah, but I feel like there's already this scaffolding for women. You know, we've had to fight and we've had to make a noise. We've had to be our own cheer squad and say, hey, we need help. And so I feel like there's more and more of that support there. And, you know, we get labeled as being more emotional. So I actually feel like my role as a mother, it's almost like I have to be even more astute and even more like attuned to the boys, and making sure that the boys are raised with a healthy sense of themselves and knowing that it's safe to feel, knowing that it's safe to move through their own emotions, knowing that, you know, if they feel angry, it's okay to, you know, go and punch a pillow, or, you know, to find ways of releasing that, knowing that if they feel sad, it's okay to, you know, come and have a cuddle and let their tears out. So it's really, really interesting, because so, you know, so quickly, as soon as you think about mental health, I think there's just so much more out there for women, or women are so much more inclined to feel safe to drop into that space, whereas it's about breaking down that stigma for men, and then of course boys, and what it means to be a man and holding all your things together. So I actually love you know, the way the friendships that my boys have in particular, and I'm already seeing how hopefully, you know, some of my parenting is rubbing off, and they're able to create very open and honest and emotional friendships with each other as young men, as young boys. So I'm just like, my heart and my soul is just going ping, 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 ping as you're talking. So yeah, it's like I have a foot in both worlds. I have a very, very strong understanding of women and our emotional, mental, physical, spiritual needs. And also I'm in this school of constant learning as my boys are growing, and I'm a solo mum as well. So I don't have their dad to bounce off of. This constant learning of, okay, which parenting is anyway, but as I'm sort of tuning into their emotional needs and how they evolve, and constantly questioning, is this enough? Do they feel safe to feel? Yeah. So there's so much. Lights me up.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And as mums of boys, this is our role. This is what we need to be doing, is preparing them for life and telling them that it's okay to have these feelings and emotions and express themselves and ask for the help that they need. And yeah, it's really beautiful.
A beautiful example actually is my eldest. He's just he's fallen in love, and he had the courage to tell this beautiful girl that he likes her. And then he went to stay with his dad for the weekend, and he actually called me the next day from his dad's house to tell me that they've connected on Kids Messenger and she likes him, and he was so excited, and he felt sick, but he felt so happy at the same time, and he just had to call me. And I just thought, wow, like this beautiful boy has gone out of his way to call his mum and tell her that he's so excited to be in love. And I was just like, oh, I hope that never ever changes. I'm always the first person that he wants to call and share these moments with. So I felt like that was a little parenting tick for me, and for his own confidence in his own emotions and feeling safe to feel excited and happy and want to share that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. So gorgeous. Oh, Anna, I'd love to come to you now. Talk to us about mental health. I mean, you work with lots of people, and as you mentioned before, there is a connection between gut health and anxiety. But what are your thoughts around mental health?
Well, I think definitely there's a gut-brain connection, and there's a lot of scientific evidence around that these days. I think a lot of people who have gut issues, especially those with IBS, it generally goes hand in hand with anxiety. And then the longer they have that inflammation, the longer it moves from anxiety to depression, for instance, whatever it may be. I find that even after the first session of a colonic, people's mind clarity gets on point, their brain fog lifts, and it's almost like, oh, okay, well, now I can look at doing X, Y, Z. Because otherwise they come in so foggy and it's like, just feel shit, I'm so inflamed and da-da-da-da-da. So I think a lot of it has to do with our gut, to be honest. And when we're not in homeostasis, which is basically balance of all of our organs. And if you think about the colon, it's the second largest elimination organ. Your skin is the number one elimination organ, and your colon is your second largest. So if that's not going properly, if that's not working properly, for instance, you've got IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, which is like almost, you can think of it as red, raw sort of inflammation, like that's going to feel uncomfortable, right? And then you're on the other extreme where you've got chronic constipation. So that's the two clients that we generally see in clinic. So both of them can attribute to mental health, because if that organ's not working properly, then the liver's backed up, the lymphatic system's backed up, the kidneys are backed up. Basically, everything's backed up and nothing's flowing cleanly through the body. So if you clean that organ out and you hydrate the body at a cellular level, which is what happens in a colonic, things drastically change. So we see people coming in a little bit grey in the face, really like, no energy, can't really talk, not really interested in life, like a bit lull. And literally after 35 minutes on the colonic lounge, they're coming out like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm so excited. I can't, they're laughing. It's like this complete transformation in just 35 minutes, right? So I think that just that alone, us witnessing that, is got to say that it's doing something for your mental health, right? So I'll just share a little story with you. My daughter's just turned 18, Isabella. Now, Bella, when I first bought the clinic, Isabella said to me, Mum, there is no way I'm working in a shit clinic. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? She's 18 now, and this was 16 when we bought the clinic. She said, I'm never working in a ship clinic, Mum. It's not going to happen, right? And she's a real princess, my daughter, just quietly. Anyway, she started working in the clinic because she was getting bullied terribly at school, and that's another whole scenario. So the reason I know so much about anxiety and depression, because I was dealing with her, like we had a counsellor coming to the house every single day. You know, there was self-harm involved. There was like lots of stress for that, months and months. So we had police involved, we had children expelled and suspended, and it was terrible bullying, not just an average, you know, you're not my friend. It was like serious bullying. So I learned the things that work for severe anxiety. So, you know, all of my experiences led me to Wellness at Wilston, right? So anyway, I said to Bella the other day, so she's getting qualified to be a colon hydrotherapist, and she's going to take over the business, right? She's also just about to launch our new supplement range called Leveled Up. But I said to her the other day, I said, well, it was probably a couple of months ago now, that there's been so much going on. But I said to her, love, why do you want to be a colon hydrotherapist? Why do you want to work in the business? Why do you want to take over Wellness at Wilston now? She said, Mum, we change people's lives every single day. Like, why would I not want to be involved in that? And I was like, yay, like proud moment, right? Did I wake up one day, like when I was a little kid, and say, I want to be a colon hydrotherapist? Hell no. But, you know, this is a situation I'm in, you know, and I love what I do every day. People say, if you don't, you know, if you love what you do, you never go to work a day in your life. And that's what it feels like at Wellness at Wilston. Like, all our clients become our friends. It's like a big family, right? And we're all in it together because people are unwell. And then when you grow with them, they have this connection with you, you know, and that's, I think, since all of this COVID and all of this stuff, I think that's what's been lost, is that connection. And people are really finding that connection in Wellness at Wilston. And that's why I'm trying to bring that online, because I can't be there for everybody and do everything for everybody, but at least I can connect and help people and guide people, you know, on an online community as well. I mean, it's not the same as being in clinic, I guess, but, you know, we found that the program that we've started, the Better program that we've started, has had amazing results as well. So the energy can be shifted online, as you can see in these events. You know, you can have that, you can bring that energy if you've got the energy. So I'm really excited about what's to come, to be honest. Like the Internal Shred Challenge, Leveled Up the products, Wellness at Wilston growing into Healing Humanity Foundation and centres, you know, like hospitals, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think now's the time for change, right? So, and I think it's the age of Aquarius, so women are stepping up. I mean, all of my friends are amazing, amazing business women. And, you know, it's almost like we're all stepping up. So everyone's going out of their comfort zone. Everyone's going the next level. So I'll talk to my friend. She's like, I'm doing this. I'm like, geez, that's next level. I need to step up again, you know. And it's all this. It's not in competition either. It's like, what can I do to help you? Like, I'm sending her this, you know, a bit of this help, and she's helping me with this. It's like we're working together for consciousness, for raising our vibration. I feel like raising our consciousness and bringing connection back to humanity, because I feel like it's so lost in all of this mask wearing and social distancing and no touching, and like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it needs to come back, because humans need physical touch, right? We need to have that connection. So even in these times, if we can't connect physically, I think connecting online, you know, healing online is still really important if they can't get into the clinic or can't get into a clinic, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. Connection is so important. And, you know, one of the ways that we can connect with other people is by sharing our stories. And that's why this book is so powerful. As you said, it's our time. Women are rising, and I'm seeing it every day. The women in this community who are all just out there doing big things. And, you know, as Laura was talking about before, then they're taking these risks and trying new things, and that, yep, they might fall on their face, or maybe it'll work. But, you know, this is our time, and it's time to go for it and be there for each other, support each other, and share our stories as well.
I think that book, when you gave it to me the other day, since we were busy at the conference and whatever, but since having it at home, every time I look at it, it has this energy about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't even explain it. It's almost like it comes alive on the front cover. Honestly,
I can't stop cuddling it. Like, it's just so good.
Amazing. So I've read a couple of the stories. I've been so busy, but I've read a couple of stories, and I just think it's amazing that you guys have brought this together, and we've all come together through this book. And I think the ripple effect is going to be massive for this book. I think it's going to be amazing. So well done, everyone. I'm just so grateful to be a part of this, honestly. I think it's really going to get the message out there for what I'm trying to create, and obviously for what everyone else is trying to create as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I just love this book so much. I've been really enjoying reading the stories. I'm about halfway through, and just there are incredible women who are part of this book and doing big things, you know, with visionary things that are really making a difference in all kinds of different ways as well. I love that as well, the level of diversity of people working on all kinds of things. You're working on health, and, you know, other people are working on all sorts of like the environment and all sorts of different things. So it's just beautiful. Oh, all right. Well, it's been wonderful chatting with all of you today, and I've really enjoyed hearing more of your story. I'm looking forward to reading your chapters. For anybody who's tuning in, if you haven't got a copy of this book yet, make sure you get an order in, because it's an incredibly inspiring book. And I know so many of the women who are tuning in, who are part of this community, are women who are on a mission to change the world in the work that they do. So congratulations to all of our authors. It's been wonderful speaking with you today, Kristy, Leah, Laura, and Anna. And we will see you all again very soon. We're taking a break now for 1 hour, lunch break, and then we will be back after that very soon. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.